Perhaps it's a bit ironic that I had made this whole layout of what I was going to speak about today at Roma's road to the Coppa Italia finals and how I felt that they were going to win the entire thing. And now what do we have? A shocking loss. I'm, of course, very disappointed, as you are. And I think the commentator at the end of the match said, "You have to see it to believe it," and that's this game in a nutshell. Cremonese runs away 1-2 winners here at the Olympico in front of the home fans. This is such a painful one. I'm just putting that banner up real quick. And what is there to say? At times, Roma was playing in a 4-2-4 formation, and they were trying to crowd the net. This was probably for the better half of the match almost, for probably almost 40 minutes they were playing like this and holding the entirety of the possession, which Roma typically does not do. But of course, given the circumstances, they had to get the ball up the pitch as quick as they could. And yeah, pain is the word right now, I think. Totally. And I'm sitting watching this, eating a burrito from Trader Joe's, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And guys, what can I tell you? Dybala couldn't get the goal. Belotti does, but it's a little too late. And Roma just cannot find a way. There was no penalty kick at the end. It hit the defender's back. And simply just not good enough. Cremonese came, played a good match. Okereke, player we know well. Dessers, who we also know from Feyenoord last season in the Conference League final. And I'm feeling it. Yeah, it's so ironic because Roma had played probably their best or second best game of the season last Sunday against Napoli. And now it's Wednesday, 3 days later, and it's their worst game of the season. Definitely, like probably without a doubt. But Roma entered this one also with a little bit of a different setup compared to what we're used to. I'm going to try to get us that real quick here. And we see Mourinho going to the bench often in the past few weeks, haven't we? But the lineup here was Tahirovic in midfield, starting with Cristante, but Mancini, Kambula, Ibanez, and it's unfortunately Kambula who hasn't played too much this season, and he makes a mistake that gives Cremonese the penalty kick, which is then converted by Cyril Dessers. Yes, the midfield was Selik on right, who had a pretty good game, actually. Cristante, and then Tahirovic, and El Shaarawy. I always laugh as El Shaarawy comes up as El Faraone, the Pharaoh, on Google. And then up ahead, we see Volpato get the start with Pellegrini, and then Belotti as the starting center forward. Who, as I'm looking at some of these comments, yes. Vincent, I have no idea where that one hit the crossbar. Tammy was straight up on goal and had it all in front of him and hit the crossbar, or the post, I should say, the far post. Yeah. If I tell you half the guys that started with this Cremonese team, besides Felix and Dessers and I doubt, like me, that you would know many of these guys. Castagnetti, Meite, perhaps, Piquel, Giglione, Aiwu, Bianchetti, Ferrari, Sar, in net, Sadyut, who I've never heard of in my life, Frank Sadyut, from actually born in Perugia, and so I guess not local. Cremonese, I believe, is Cremona, is up by Milan. Let's look a little bit about him because now I'm intrigued. Actually, from Milan's youth system. How about that? And Charleroi, I guess, is the team that he played for. Belgian. So that's going to be with a French pronunciation there. Cittadella, Pordenone, Ascoli. So he had a bunch of loans, and he scored. His best season was scoring 3 goals. You can't make this up. 6'3", 23-year-old. Cameroonian descent. Jesus. Anyway, Belotti needs a finishing clinic. This is what happens when you don't have squad depth. Yikes, poor Kambula. Pazza partita for sure. Reading these comments as they're coming in. So this was my script heading into today. The road to the Coppa Italia final. Inter beat Atalanta yesterday to progress to the semifinals with a goal by Darmian. That was in the 63rd. Lazio Juve will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Who are we voting for there? I'm guessing for both to lose. Fiorentina, the Fiorentina won that one earlier today, and Fiorentina will face Cremonese now. So maybe Fiorentina gets to the Coppa Italia final. That would be a cool little success story for them, I guess. And key moments here: the mistake, foul, the second goal, which was a counterattack. Yikes. Um, I do have some good news though, especially on the Mercato side. And keep the comments coming in. I know everyone is really irritated right now. Me too. But we signed an interesting midfielder from Spain for the Femenile side, Vicky Losada, and she's highly regarded. She's a Spanish international, 42,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know how many on Instagram, but I'm going to guess it's more than that. And she took the number 14. I'll have more about her. She seems to have a really good reputation along with her. I haven't seen her play before, but we've also brought in another player from Spain, and that is Diego Llorente from Leeds. So they actually paid a lot of money for Llorente in 2020, so not too long ago. He's 29 years old. He made 59 appearances for Leeds after signing from Real Sociedad, and that was for, what did I say, 20 million? I think they paid 18 million for him. Sorry. He scored 4 goals, center back. Spain international, but he's only played 13 times in the last this season because of the amount of competition he had at Leeds with defenders like Liam Cooper, Robin Koch, and new signing Max Bober. I think he's a Swiss center back. I think he's also like 19 years old. Roma's paying 14,000. Where did I get that number from? 500,000 for his loan fee, and that's exactly the same amount that is being paid to Roma for the loan of Matthias Vigna, who's out now at Bournemouth for the rest of the season, and that could rise to 750,000 euros, which will cover the fines and various summonses we get throughout the season if certain bonuses are met. And Bournemouth actually have the option to buy him at the end of the season for 15 million euros. Does this leave Roma open at the flanks, guys? A bit. Now that Spinazzola has gone down, we have Zalewski as the starting left wing back, El Shaarawy as the second string there, but Salik is the only right back because of the Karsdorp situation. However, I get this feeling that Karsdorp could re-enter the frame maybe within like the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's just intuition. I'm not basing it upon anything that I read, just a feeling that I think Karsdorp will reintegrate back into the squad. Okay, I'm going to look at some of these comments right now. Mourinho was the last person I expected to underestimate a cup competition. Too many players rotated, SB says. Yeah, that's a big one too. But on the flip side, we all want our youth to get better. We want our youth to play. And when they make mistakes, that's another story. Like, you allow your young players to make mistakes in certain games and you forgive them. However, the rotation today definitely hurts Roma's equilibrium. And when I started this episode just now, 8 minutes ago, I mentioned that Roma had come off their best game of the season. And this was perhaps their worst, if not maybe like the game against Sassuolo, where Roma lost. So what does that do to? Part of it is a big squad rotation, as SB mentions here. So, and Marco is probably Mourinho's biggest fan, right, Marco? And Paul, I worry about that as well, these sellouts, because we see a sold-out Stadio Olimpico again today for not a meaningless match, but a more low-key match. It's a quarterfinal. It's not a semifinal. It's against Cremonese, who's not exactly exciting, although today they were exciting. And it was like watching an eight-a-side game with players just up and down. It's like when you meet your friends at the park and you play football together and everyone just wants to attack. Rocco says, also echoing what Espi said, Mourinho gambles with this lineup and lost. Simple. I do think perhaps it is simple today, and that it's not worth like overanalyzing or saying this player didn't do that. I think it was overall like a bad day. Pellegrini that was a howler of a match from him. Abraham hit the post, had a couple of moments where really, bad in front of the net. The midfield make mistakes, Cristante and Tahirovic. And one thing that I heard them mentioning, the commentators on Rete Sport, I missed the first half of this game. And one thing that they kept saying was that the midfield was struggling getting and advancing through the lines, like actually getting the ball through the center final third, not even the final third, but in like Roma's middle like middle third, I guess is what you would call it, and that they were struggling to progress the ball. And when I look and I see Cristante and Tahirovic, two deeper players, I'm like, oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. There's nobody in that midfield to help them get up a little bit. So that makes sense. Marco says, I'm not angry, I'm relaxed because I don't expect this team to do anything while we are managed by the so-called manager. Well, we have won the Conference League final, and we beat a pretty good Feyenoord side. He's the highest paid manager in the league. He's killing us. Look, I kind of agree with Rocco here in that it is somewhat more simple here in that Roma went out, played a bad match. It was not coached greatly because if it was, we would have had a much firmer control on the match. That has to be said. But I don't think it is worth overanalyzing and saying like, oh, this player, he's not cut to play for Roma or he's in bad form right now. I think it was like almost like a supernatural event where it was just so like everything was working against Roma. The ball doesn't go into the back of the net. They're not getting the calls. Not that they should have. There weren't really too many contested goals. So, and I like what Katka says here. Katka, is this your first time writing in? Let me know. Thank you. Selik own goal. Abraham misses. Belotti not finishing. It's a bad day. Yeah, all around. I hope so that we get into the Champions League as well. Marco says, again, Pellegrini, not a trequartista, not an attacking mid. What is that guy playing? Nobody knows. Ooh, he's got to be slotted back, man, into the center of the pitch, doesn't he? Just not our day, Giallorossi, USA says. And Paul says, anytime you want to discuss Roma in person, let us know. For sure, Paul. I'll give you the call soon. We'll do it. Message me on Twitter also, or Instagram or something. You have my contact, I'm sure. Yusuf says, can't remember the last time Pellegrini had a good game. Should he be dropped? Yes. It hurts to say the captain. I think the team plays better as with El Shaarawy on the left, Dybala on the right, and Abraham up top. I try not to be controversial, but I do think that the team is so much more balanced and plays a lot better when you have those three up top like we did against, was it Napoli where Pellegrini didn't play? No, it was the game before that, and it's slipping my mind right now, but Roma played extremely well, and El Shaarawy was really pulling the team out and making those runs, getting up and down, working very hard. Meanwhile, Dybala was given a little bit more freedom to do his thing and to drop back or find spaces and influence the attack in his way, which is based on imagination and fantasista type qualities. And Abraham up top. To me, that's like my go-to front three right now. And it doesn't include Pellegrini in there. Roma deserves us for treating Zaniolo like crap. What do you guys think about that? If you agree with Prometheus, let me know what you think. I think Zaniolo made his bed, and now he's got to lie in it. Tammy hits the post from 6 yards out. Dybala skies from 6 yards. Not a word. Pellegrini scissor kick. Best save of the game. Everyone screams. Come on. I can't put that one up, Katka, because it's kind of over the line with the cursing there. But I understand the sentiment for sure. SB says players sliding all over the pitch and slipping at the worst time. Tahirovic and Cristante don't look good together. I pray that Gini is ready soon. Yeah, bright spot here, SB. We see Wijnaldum not only on the bench, but also warming up. And that's a really nice bit of news that we get tonight. Marcus says, but we have to say positive for sure. We have some good players. Absolutely. Zaniolo chooses his own path, for sure. I know Rocco is also of the type or of the mindset that Pinto shares some blame with Zaniolo. However, I see it from a point where, like, let's get to the next part of today's episode, where the Zaniolo situation. So he turns down this offer from Bournemouth. I almost called them Bournemouth. And they're the only team that's prepared to buy him outright, but Zaniolo waits for a more prestigious move. He's looking for something that's not there, and he's waiting for Milan to come out and buy him. Doesn't happen. And then the Roma Ultras go to his house. I'm not sure if you've seen this story yet today. They show up outside his house and are like rioting and they're like picketing, like, yelling, cursing at him. And I don't agree with that because he's still a Roma player at the end of the day. I have to respect his privacy. But this is Italy, and I'm a product of New Jersey and New York. So a little bit different in my way of thinking and how it's done in Italy. But he gets these threats, And then he runs away to La Spezia, where he's from, which is like where Spezia is, by Cinque Terre, on the west coast, northwest coast of Italy. It's like the Italian Riviera, but I don't want to get sidetracked being your tour guide here. He said in a letter to the news agency ANSA, Zaniolo said, many things have been said and written in the last few weeks that are not true. I arrived at Roma as an unknown player, and the fans welcomed me as one of their own. They gave me confidence, courage, and affection in the terrible and dark moments of my injuries. True. In Tirana, during the Conference League final, with that goal, I felt that I had repaid them for all that I had received, contributing to a great and unforgettable moment of joy for all Romanisti. Repaid them? Brother, you scored one goal. That's bizarre. At the age of 23, I have been through experiences that many of my colleagues haven't had in their entire careers. Falling down, getting back up, falling again, climbing once more, winning. Okay? In the last few months, it has been a delicate period for me, when it became difficult for me to understand what my professional future would be. However, I have always worked hard on the pitch and in training with the utmost professionalism. Then he talks about the threats received from ultras as being his breaking point. And then, of course, as Mourinho and Pinto said, publicly stating that Zaniolo did not want to play for Roma again. And he says, for the first time, I was afraid for me and my family, and I felt abandoned. It had never happened to me before, and I was terrified. The future is in our hands. I hold out mine and put myself at the complete disposal of the Roma family. This comes just as La Repubblica reports that Roma removed Zaniolo's photograph and name from the locker room at the Trigoria training ground. So perhaps that did happen or didn't. I can't confirm if that's happened at Trigoria or not. But there's a couple things which are signaled to me here. One, that Zaniolo's agent probably wrote this, that his agent is not a good writer and made some big mistakes with how his approach in this letter. And two, it seems like he's backtracking now because I don't think he would have said all these nice things if he had left Roma. So he's doing a bit of damage control here. But what can you say about Zaniolo right now? It's a frustrating situation. And I know that some of you still want to see him back in the side. To me, I don't want or not want to see him. I want whatever is best for the team. And whatever that might be, well, let it happen. He will have his own path for sure. Okay. We meet Cremonese again on February 28th. We're all laughing anyway. Do you think this result will affect our league run in February? One thing I don't like is that it tired us out today. Played 90 minutes, full stretch. You see El Shaarawy giving it his all. Dybala gets a half in. Abraham gets a half in. Pellegrini, Cristante. So guys who are set starters put in big minutes today. If not big minutes, then definitely a lot of effort, which I wasn't a big fan of. So we got Marco here, a fan of Zaniolo. And he says he is just frustrated with the way we play football, and he is very ambitious, unlike the manager. Rocco says Pinto brings in Belotti, Selic, Sobak, and Kamara. Why is he the DS again? Matic, Gini, and Dybala were Mourinho requests, not Pinto acquisitions. Wake up, Pinto's not great for us. I'm not going to comment on that one. Beside from the fact that, let's see, I think Belotti, we all wanted. Most of us wanted Belotti. He was on a free. He looked like a great channel for depth in the Mercato, and he fit within Roma's financial parameters. Selic, Roma did spend money on. I think Selic is coming into his own. He's a player that I really like, and he's the number one starting right back right now. And he's progressing for sure. Solbakken, we will see as he adjusts. Kamara, I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think it might have something to do with a clause with however many games he plays. Matic has been good. Matic wasn't supposed to be an out-and-out starter every single game. That was supposed to be Wijnaldum. And, of course, we know that with the injuries, Matic did become a guy who was relied upon every single game. Zaniolo in G-Cup says, love your channel. Honestly, I just keep falling like this team doesn't really play through the middle. We were promised the Fab Four. So we've got the four. Are they fabulous yet? Hopefully. Hopefully by the end of the season. But through the middle. So one thing that we really miss, and somebody who we really miss, is Mkhitaryan. He's one of the most not contributing. He's had a player who's had some of the biggest contribution for his time on the pitch. He started to get injured last year. for sure, and he started to, I think, suffer because of that. But pound for pound, whenever he was on the pitch, Mkhitaryan was an impact player. And now we miss that guy who plays between the lines and can progress the ball, who could beat one guy, maybe two, given his situation on the pitch, depending on where he is. If he uses that with his mind, not so much his speed anymore, but just his positioning and how he gets around players. And that Mkhitaryan replacement was supposed to be Wijnaldum. So it stinks. It absolutely does. But once he went down, we lost a component of our play, which is why the midfield has been so rigid. Now, should Pellegrini have been molded into that player? I think so. I think Mourinho should work with him going forward to be only a deeper player. I don't think Pellegrini is somebody who belongs in the front three. Oi, look at these guys. I'm hoping that we get a big bounce back this weekend. Tammy gets back to his way. And hopefully we don't see banners like that again. So let me keep getting back to the comments here. Thanks, Paul. Sharma, how you doing, man? Sharma's my guy. He's out in where are you at? Are you in Leicester, Sharma? I always confuse. I thought Sharma was from Manchester, but I think he's from Leicester. And super insightful Inter Milan player. Check out his page. And he says, Mickey has been such a good signing for Inter. Even at his age, he's been playing nonstop since the World Cup. So look at that. He leaves. He doesn't fit into the salary that Roma wants to pay him. And now he's putting in shifts for Inter in a side which has Barella and Brozovic. Once you add that extra dimension, he gives Inter a little bit of an extra step, especially when they need someone to click the attack and put everything together. So our loss is surely Inter's gain here. And once again, I'm ruining the fact that Wijnaldum went down. But I'm anticipating a much more fluid midfield in the second half of the season. Because if Wijnaldum is warming up on the side of the pitch, it's only a matter of time before he's in this starting lineup. Rocco says, our management should be held accountable for devaluing players by calling them out publicly. Unprofessional and hurts the club. I do think that the people like the manager and the sporting director have a sense of responsibility to inform us about what's going on. Now, the ownership, that's a different story. I like that the ownership keeps everything under wraps and they don't speak. So, Marco says, please answer this. Everyone speaks about this Roma project. What is that Roma project? Playing with younger players, making it to Champions League, playing anti-football. I don't get it. It is one that... It's not a difficult answer, but it is difficult to achieve because you're trying to get this team back to the top four while working in the red, while working with the financial parameters of financial fair play, while having to go after players who are on expired contracts or able to give us a shift, like a player like Matic, right? Roma's not going to go and sign Enzo Fernandez. That's not going to happen. We're not even going to sign Enzo's youngest brother for $30 million. Those purchases are not going to happen. But the idea here is that you develop or instill a mentality, instill a way that you play, a toughness, a mental toughness, an edge to your play by bringing in a guy like Mourinho, using the youth sector with somebody like Pinto and adding to that with good purchases and trying to wiggle your way around all these constraints, whether it's that you're in the red or fair play, or dealing with being not an elite club, like having that purchasing power. And how do you do that and not having a privately owned stadium? So you're working around a lot of obstacles, and that's part of this project. But it definitely, the objective is to get back to the top four, and Roma very much can. And like I said, Roma's two best games, some of their two best games of the season happened this week, within the last 7 days. So I wouldn't read too much into this game. I don't think it's worth getting too like over the top about. Okay. Gabriel says, missing out on this transfer window is going to put top four in jeopardy. Lukic was there for the picking and we've done no recruitment. Strange to me with the Mourinho pull and whatnot. I think we would have seen somebody if Zaniolo left. I think perhaps Fratesi would have been brought in if we didn't have this, if Zaniolo did leave. If money went, somebody would have come in for sure. But working on this type of budget is just is very difficult. Bravo, Rocco. So, Marco and Bravo. They don't like the players being spoken about in public. Ioannis, hey man, says, I agree. I think Lorenzo should have been the Wijnaldum replacement after the injury. Fact of the matter is we don't control the ball ever. So, first thing here. Our first game of the season, if you remember, what was the Copia? Cristante and who? It was Pellegrini. First game of the season, right? And they played pretty good. And Wijnaldum comes in, I forget if it was for Pellegrini or Cristante, but he comes in as the sub. And that's when he gets injured. Actually, it's like a few days later in training. And I don't know why Pellegrini ever shifted off of that. And with El Shaarawy's form, I think he surely should be that guy in the left wing. Pavi says, I think our emotions run high, but this team is giving everything, and we should be realistic. After the high press on Sunday, we are going to be tired. Top 4 and Europa League is important, surely. And this is one less distraction, not to make light of a dark situation, but it definitely helps Roma having, what would it be? 1, 2, 4 less games in the calendar, or at least 3, right? The finals 1 game. So just a little bit more rest for a thin squad. Okay, Rocco talking back and forth here. Guys, throw in your comments, throw some likes on this video as well. I'm finished here as far as my template, so I'm just gonna, my layout. I'm just gonna look to see if any comments came in following this match. The headlines read, Kumbula Selik disaster. Great. That's not great. Oh, I got a new picture here at forzaroma.info. That's going to be good. Roma, la curva sud attacca Zaniolo, attacking Zaniolo. Baciare quella maglia significa non tradirla. So they're telling him, every time you kiss that jersey, that means that you're not going to be a traitor. So it doesn't seem like this is going to end anytime soon. Okay, some comments here from Pinto ahead of the match. This was posted... this is right before he was speaking with Mediaset, right before Roma-Cremonese. And he's asked, the calendar, it must make you smile. And he said, this is previewing the match now, Cremonese beat even Napoli. And I'm talking about this entirely. We have a great want to win the Coppa Italia, but we must play this game like it's a finale. The calendar is only paper. Anything else of substance I want to tell you here? So he's going to be talking more about the Mercato next week. And he's asked, did you expect anything more from the market? And he says, I'm going to speak next week. In the other transfer market windows, I believe that I improved the squad. But this was a difficult market with all the cards that we put on the table. And I must watch also with criticism my work. So he's saying I must be critical of myself. But we did all that was possible. If you ask me if I'm happy, no, because we could have done more. There you have it. Okay, a couple more comments coming in here. Sent you our email. Thanks, Paul. Okay, looking through these. We haven't been great team, SB says, since we were in the UCL, the Champions League. Regardless of what we think of Mourinho's football, we wouldn't have players like Dybala, Gini, and Matic without him. Touche. Courage said we should be playing pragmatic, counter-attacking football, but our fans don't like, which increases the pressure and makes us lose games. Katka says, now to Europa, we win that competition and go to the Champions League. True. Or we finish in top 4. And let's look at the points real quick here. And Ioannis says, maybe we could have tried a different formation today, considering that the kids weren't totally suited to the positions they were playing, according to their Primavera games, like how they play. So maybe, but we haven't seen Mourinho tinker at all with the 3-4-2-1 too much this season. He's adamant about that back 3. I'm thinking until he gets different players. So Roma right now, 37 points, and they're in 6th place. In 5th and 4th and 3rd are Lazio, Atalanta, and Milan, respectively, with 38. So just 1 point out of 3rd place, I should say, Roma. And let's see what Lazio's schedule looks like upcoming. They've got a quarterfinal game tomorrow, of course, against Juventus. And then on Monday, they face Verona, so they get a good rest for that. And then Lazio, Atalanta battle each other on February 11th. So two of our rivals for that fourth spot. And then Salernitana. And then they close out the month with a game against Sampdoria at home, which they should, that should be an easy one for them. And then they open up March with a game against Napoli. So Lazio's schedule is going to get quite difficult as they battle us for the fourth. And there you say Ioannis Kambula normally plays better in a four-man backline. Marco says, what do you think the real reason was for Zaniolo's behavior? It couldn't just be fans whistling. No, I think that this all started because the contract didn't work out, and he wanted a bonus, and Roma and Pinto most likely put their foot down, which I completely back, and looked at this from the point like, hey, we're not going to meet you at what you want. We'll come halfway, we'll give you an improved contract, but we're not going to settle on your high demands because your output has been very little. So that's reality. Look at Zaniolo's stats and figures. How many goals does he have this season? Maybe one? Does he have any? So I think that's how that went. And then that kind of transmitted onto the pitch and into the locker room and onto the fans, onto us. And now it became this whole issue and couldn't get him sold. And he didn't want to accept Bournemouth. He didn't want to go and fight for a relegation fighting side. And Yusuf says people are underappreciating Pinto, and I agree with Yusuf here. He had a lot of cleaning up to do, for sure. A lot of messy contracts, a lot of overpaid players, a lot of players who wanted to go to Rome on vacation. Zaniolo and Dybala, bad mix, perhaps. That's something to say for that, too. Rocco says, Tammy's season's been forgettable up until the last recent games, but no one dumps on him. I think Tammy got a lot of slack, honestly, in the first 3 months of the season, but he's been working really hard. 2023, his first game, he makes a goal line clearance that saves the game against Bologna, and then he's been scoring after that in Serie A. So why should Roma put their foot down on one of the most talented players? Stats are not good, but come on, Wayne, he's easily top 3 talents we have. To a point, I want to say that I feel for Zaniolo, and he's a player I really love. I have loved. And I want to see him re-enter the frame now that he's not going anywhere. The best situation right now is that there's a reconciliation and Zaniolo, Mourinho, and Pinto come to terms and say, you're going to come back into the lineup, and then come the summer, we will sell you if that's what you really want. Or if you start putting up numbers and everyone's getting along and you're an asset to this team in the second half of the season, then we can revisit the contracts again. I think that's the best situation here. So there's going to have to be a little bit of a compromise on both sides if we are going to do what's best for Roma. Courage says, encourage the kids. Don't dump on them. Running through some of these. Maybe Zaniolo's the future. Look at the way we play, way we counter-attack game, where Zaniolo is always double or triple teamed. He has most space to play attacking football, so he has no stats, just like Tammy. It's a good shout that Zaniolo's stats have been, impacted by the team's overall play and by our presence on the pitch. And the fact that there is a disconnect between the midfield and the attack. So I agree with you, Marco, to the point where Zaniolo hasn't been allowed to fully express his potential because of this counter-attacking style. However, he's made a lot of bad choices and he's had a lot of really poor shooting. So he hasn't been clinical in the least. And that is one reason why he's not getting the contract that he wanted. I think Nicolo was badly advised. Honestly, his output has been mediocre and the club stuck with him. Hope they can patch things up after his drama, though. Badly advised for sure. An agent, I don't know if he's not listening to his agent or is. Talents don't win us trophies. We need players who want to play for us. Perhaps. What if you sold Zaniolo and then you got in a killer left wing, right? What if this all happened and it's today's February 1st, and we have a shiny new Ziyech or a left winger who busts his butt and is converting goals. Wilfried Zaha, let's say, comes in and torches Serie A defenders. Maybe. But he chooses to shoot. And this is the reality too. And I think you have to see it from both sides. We have to root that there is a reconciliation, but also understand and recognize that Zaniolo did not put up numbers. But also, on the other hand, like Marco said, that it's a little bit of both of like the tactics aren't suited to where players put up big numbers because Mourinho's sides are never going to get, 30. His strikers aren't going to have 25, 30 goal seasons. Thanks, Paul. Please hire me as the press officer. See, I can handle the room. I can talk and I can make things right, and I can help the fans understand. Hire me. Tell them. Write to Roma. Tell them I got your guy right here. Hey, Belotti did score a goal today, but I thought he was going to move to Fiorentina, to be honest with you. Squad depth is bad. We need someone with pace next to Dybala. That's true. I agree with Joseph there. And I think maybe Taha does. Taha Tahir. Taha. Taha does. There he is. Oh, my guy, Taha. Pinto has been good, Ioannis says. Honestly, I think Mourinho should have tinkered more after certain things didn't click. Maybe we'll see that. I'm interested to see how the second half goes now with Wijnaldum coming back. That's to me is the new sign. Also with Solbakken. Don't forget, Solbakken was signed for this window, and it's kind of my fault for forgetting too. He's going to have a big impact in my opinion. He's a direct winger. He's somebody who can go out there, I think, combine with his teammates, and maybe, as somebody put before, Joseph said before, somebody with pace next to Dybala, perhaps that is Solbakken, La Bionda, as they call him. La Bionda, the blonde, with his quality. Dybala put too much pressure on our front three. The sooner our guys understand he is better and think about the team, it's good for us. Okay. Guys, throw a like up there. Comment. Let me know what you want, what you think about this episode. And let's look at the calendar before I sign off. I've got Lazio's calendar. I don't think I'll be watching them too much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to them playing Atalanta and Napoli in the next month. Empoli this Saturday, February 4th at 12 p.m. I'm not going to be able to do that on time, right after the match. It's probably going to be about 5 p.m., given that we've got something going on with my family that day, like a private event, like a party. But I'll definitely be doing that Saturday, probably around 5 is what I'm guessing. So New York time. So Europe, Italian time, that's 11 p.m. or 2300. And then Lecce, February 11th, next Saturday as well. And then Salzburg's coming up on February 16th. We've got that just on the horizon, 2 weeks away, just over 2 weeks away, Red Bull Salzburg. And I live very close. I live about 15 minutes from, maybe 15, 17 minutes from Red Bull Stadium. Of course, not Salzburg, but New York, Red Bull Stadium. I used to work there too. It's a cool one. And Red Bull does a heck of a job with their recruitment and their whole structure through the ranks. But that sounds like that sounds like a different story. Wayne Rome needs to be on ESPN, CBS, or Fox Sports. This guy knows the game better. Convey the ins and outs of the game, to the viewer better than any of their commentators. Yeah. Thanks, Jefferson Davis. My guy. All right. Thanks, Paul. And I'll say I'm a little happy for Felix to have his experience, especially since his team is likely getting relegated this season. And perhaps he comes back, Felix. There's no buyback. I was looking into his contract today, and he was purchased for $7 million, Afina, but there is no buyback. So I was thinking that maybe there would be one for 10 because that guy probably could have helped out a little bit, but he did need surely to develop. So on that note, thank you guys. Let's talk soon. If you know other podcasts that you listen to as well, like YouTubers, send them my name too. Be like, I think you should have this guy Wayne. I think you need Wayne Gerard. That sounds good. All right, we'll talk soon. Sorry about today. This one stinks. Try not to get too frustrated. Go for a jog or take it easy. Watch some TV. However you decompress. Get yourself a massage. Go to the masseuse. Just go. A little back rub. It'll make you feel better. Take it easy, guys. Ciao.